My name is Nora, and I'm about to tell you how one dinner party destroyed my family, or maybe saved it. When my sister Lily stood up at our beach house gathering and announced, "Adopted kids aren't real family," everyone laughed. But what they didn't know was that in my bag, I carried an envelope from our deceased parents. Inside was a letter that would turn their entire world upside down. By the time I was done reading it, the laughter had died, and the real inheritance war was about to begin. I was 7 years old when I first realized I was different. Not because I looked different, I actually resembled my adoptive mother more than my biological siblings did. No, I realized it because of a single conversation I overheard late one night. My brother Marcus was arguing with our parents about something trivial, whether he could have a later curfew, I think. I remember him shouting, "You always take her side. She's not even really yours." The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. My mother's voice, when it finally came, was quiet but firm. "Nora is ours in every way that matters, Marcus. Love doesn't require biology." But the damage was done. Even at 7, I understood that in his eyes, and maybe in the eyes of others, I would always be the adopted one. If you've ever felt like an outsider in your own family, hit that like button. You're not alone, and trust me, this story is just getting started. Growing up, I learned to read the room. I learned which family stories I wasn't technically part of. I learned to smile when relatives would say things like, "Oh, you're so lucky they chose you," as if I should be eternally grateful for basic parental love. My sister Lily was 3 years older than me, and she was masterful at subtle cruelty. She never said anything overtly cruel in front of our parents, but the message was clear. I was a guest in a house where she belonged by birthright. "It's a shame Mom and Dad couldn't have more kids of their own," she told me once when I was 12. "But I guess you filled the gap, right?" Marcus was less subtle. He simply acted as if my opinions, my feelings, my presence didn't matter. If I suggested a movie for family night, it was ignored. If I shared good news, the conversation would shift within seconds. Our parents tried. God, they really tried. They told us constantly that family was about love, not blood. They made sure I was included in everything. They defended me when relatives made thoughtless comments. But they couldn't be everywhere. They couldn't protect me from every dismissive glance, every forgot to include you moment, every family photo arranged with me slightly outside the frame. I learned to make myself small, to be grateful, to never rock the boat, until I couldn't anymore. When I was 24, Dad was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. Mom had been fighting breast cancer for a year already. It was like the universe decided to test our family all at once. Marcus was living in Chicago, working at a hedge fund. Important job, important life. He'd visit once every few months, always rushed, always distracted. Lily was in Seattle with her tech startup. She'd FaceTime occasionally, usually when she needed something, a childhood photo for a presentation, access to some family documents, reassurance that everything was under control. And me. I was in the second year of my graduate program in social work, finally building the life I dreamed of. I was also the one who lived 20 minutes away. At first, I just helped out on weekends. Meal prep, grocery shopping, keeping Dad company while Mom rested. But as their conditions worsened, weekends became weeknights. Then weeknights became full-time. I withdrew from my program. I told myself it was temporary, just until they stabilized, just until we found better care, just until my siblings could share the load. But my siblings had important jobs, important lives, and I was just Nora. If you're hooked on this story, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because when that envelope gets opened, everything changes. People don't talk about what caregiving actually looks like. They don't talk about changing your father's clothes when he's forgotten who you are. They don't talk about your mother crying because the treatment makes her too sick to eat, and you're desperately trying to find anything she can keep down. They don't talk about the loneliness of watching your friends move forward with their lives while you're measuring medications and fighting with insurance companies. Marcus would call every few weeks. "How are they doing?" he'd ask, and I'd give him the update. He'd make sympathetic noises, then tell me about his latest deal, his newest promotion. Before hanging up, he'd always say, "Let me know if you need anything." But he never asked what I specifically needed. He never offered to come for more than a day or two. And when I did ask, hesitantly, apologetically, if he could take a week off so I could have a break, he'd explain how impossible that was right now with his workload. Lily was similar, except she'd also send care packages. Fancy lotions, inspirational books, gourmet snacks. Things that cost money but not time. Things that made her feel like she was helping without actually disrupting her life. Meanwhile, I documented everything. Not because I planned to use it, I didn't even know what I was saving it for. But something in me needed proof. Proof that I was here. Proof that they weren't. I saved the texts. Can't make it this weekend. Something came up. You're so good at this, Nora. They're lucky to have you. Just put it on the credit card. I'll reimburse you later. They never did. I kept the voicemails. Mom asking weekly if Lily was coming for her birthday, Dad asking where Marcus was, thinking he was still in high school. I photographed the empty chairs at birthday dinners, the cards I'd signed from all of us, the medical appointments where I was the only family member present. I wasn't building a case. I was just surviving. And somehow, proof of my survival became evidence of their absence. Mom was sharp until almost the end. Even through the pain, even through the treatments, she saw everything. One night, about 6 months before she died, I was helping her get ready for bed. She was so frail by then, just skin and bones, but her eyes were fierce. "Nora," she said, gripping my hand with surprising strength. "I need you to know something." "What is it, Mom?" "Your father and we see you. We see everything you've sacrificed. Everything you've done." Her eyes filled with tears. "And we see everything they haven't done." I tried to deflect. "They have their own lives, Mom. It's okay." "No." Her voice was firm. "It's not okay. And we're going to make sure everyone knows that." I didn't understand what she meant then, but she and Dad had been busy, even in their illness. They'd been planning. They'd been documenting too. Dad died first, on a Tuesday morning in March. I was with him. I was always with him. Marcus and Lily came for the funeral, of course. They gave beautiful eulogies about what a wonderful father he'd been, how much they'd learn from him, how much they'd miss him. Lily cried beautifully, the kind of photogenic tears that looked good in the memorial video. Marcus wore Dad's watch and told stories about their fishing trips from 20 years ago. And I stood there, numb, thinking about how I'd been the one to hold Dad's hand as he forgot my name, as he forgot his own name, as he forgot everything except that someone was there with him. After the funeral, at the reception, our Aunt Carol pulled me aside. "You've been so strong through all this, Nora," she said, patting my hand. "Your mother is lucky to have you nearby." Nearby. As if geography was the only factor. Marcus overheard and joined us. "Yeah, we're all grateful Nora could be here so much. With my job, it's just impossible to get away regularly. But we're a team, right, Nora? A team. Where one person does all the work and everyone shares the credit." I smiled. I nodded. I was so tired of smiling and nodding. That night, after everyone left, Mom called me to her room. She was in bad shape. Dad's death had taken something out of her that couldn't be replaced. "I need to give you something," she said, reaching under her pillow. She pulled out a sealed envelope, my name written on it in Dad's shaky handwriting. "Don't open this until the right moment," she whispered. "You'll know when that is. And Nora, don't let them take anything else from you. Not one more thing. Drop a comment if you can already guess what's in that envelope. And stick around, because the beach house dinner is coming up, and that's where everything explodes." Mom lasted 3 more months. Just long enough to see spring, which she'd always loved. I was with her at the end too. Marcus was stuck in a meeting he couldn't reschedule. Lily was on a plane that got delayed. They arrived 6 hours after she died. The guilt they must have felt, or should have felt, manifested as intensity. Suddenly they were everywhere, organizing everything, making decisions about the memorial service, the obituary, the estate. "We should sell the house," Marcus said 2 days after the funeral. "It's too big for any of us, and the market is good right now." "We need to inventory everything," Lily added. "Make sure we know what assets exist. For estate purposes." They talked over me, around me, as if I was still just the grateful adopted daughter who should be thankful to be included in these conversations at all. But I had the envelope. I carried it with me everywhere, waiting for the right moment. Mom said I'd know, and I was starting to understand what she meant. The right moment came 3 weeks after Mom's funeral. Lily suggested we all go to the family beach house for a weekend, to heal, she said, to remember the good times. Marcus agreed immediately. I think they both wanted to scope it out, see what it might sell for. The beach house had been in our family for 30 years. It's where we'd spent every summer, where some of my few purely happy childhood memories lived. That Friday night, Lily organized a dinner. She'd invited extended family, Aunt Carol, Uncle Dennis, a few cousins. A celebration of Mom and Dad's life, she called it. But I could see what it really was. A performance. A way for Marcus and Lily to show everyone how devoted they were, how much they cared, how naturally they stepped into their roles as the primary children. We were all gathered around the big dining table, the sunset painting the sky orange and pink through the windows. Someone had just finished a toast to Mom and Dad. That's when Uncle Dennis, 3 glasses of wine in, decided to be helpful. You know, it's wonderful how you kids have come together, he said, gesturing with his glass. Blood really is thicker than water. Family takes care of its own. Lily nodded solemnly. Absolutely. That's what Mom and Dad taught us. I felt something crack inside me. That's interesting, I heard myself say. My voice was steady, calm even, because I don't remember either of you being around much when they actually needed taking care of. The table went quiet. Marcus's jaw tightened. Nora, that's not fair. We all contributed in different ways. Different ways, I repeated. Right. I changed their bedpans while you contributed by Zoom call. Lily's face flushed. We had responsibilities, Nora. Some of us have careers that we couldn't just abandon. I had a career too, I said, my voice rising. I had a life. I gave it up because someone had to, and you both decided it wasn't going to be you. Aunt Carol tried to intervene. Now, Nora, I'm sure everyone did their best. Did they? I turned to her. Aunt Carol, do you know how many times Marcus visited in the last 2 years of their lives? 12. 12 times. Do you know how many times Lily called just to talk to them, not to ask me for updates? Maybe 20. That's not fair. Lily's voice was sharp now, defensive. You're making us sound like we didn't care. Didn't you prove that yourselves? The table was completely silent now. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Then Lily stood up, her face twisted with anger and something else. Maybe guilt, maybe just wounded pride. You know what, Nora? She said, her voice cold. Maybe this is harsh, but someone needs to say it. Adopted kids aren't real family. You don't have the same connection we do. You don't understand what it means to lose your actual parents because they weren't your blood. So maybe stop acting like you're somehow more entitled to grieve than we are. The words hung in the air like poison. Several people gasped. Uncle Dennis looked uncomfortable. Marcus stared at his plate, and something in me became perfectly crystalline clear. This was the moment. I reached into my bag and pulled out the envelope. You know what, Lily? I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. I think you're right. I think we should talk about entitlement, and about what actually makes someone family. I held up the envelope so everyone could see. Mom gave this to me the night after Dad's funeral. She told me to open it at the right moment, and I think that moment is right now. I broke the seal and pulled out several pages. The first was a letter, written in both Mom's and Dad's handwriting. They'd written it together, taking turns with sentences as Dad's coherence allowed. My hands shook as I began to read aloud. To our beloved Nora, and to anyone who hears these words. If you're reading this, we are gone, and we hope you found the right moment to share what we need to say. Nora, you came into our lives when you were 6 months old. From the moment we held you, you were ours, not because of blood, but because of love. We have spent your entire life defending that truth to people who couldn't understand it. But you are not the one who needs defending anymore. We need to talk about what family really means. Because we've learned, especially in these last years, that family isn't about who shows up for the photo opportunities. It's about who shows up for the hard days. The impossible days. The days when there's nothing glamorous about love, just exhaustion and sacrifice and staying anyway. Marcus, Lily, we love you. We always will. But we have watched you make choice after choice that told us where your priorities lie. And more painfully, we've watched you let your sister carry burdens that should have been shared. Nora gave up her education, her career trajectory, her social life, and years of her youth to care for us. She held our hands through pain. She celebrated our small victories. She was there for every doctor's appointment, every bad day, every moment we were frightened or confused or in pain. She did this not because she had to, but because she chose to. Because that's what family does. We have documented everything. We have the texts you never returned, the calls you never made, the promises you never kept. We have proof of every medical appointment, every medication management, every night Nora slept on our floor in case we needed her. We are not telling you this to hurt you. We are telling you this because you need to understand what is about to happen and why. We have updated our will. Nora is the primary heir. I paused, looking up. Lily had gone pale. Marcus looked like he'd been struck. Keep reading, Aunt Carol whispered. I continued. The house, the beach property, and the majority of the financial assets will go to Nora. We have also established a trust fund for each of you, but it comes with conditions. You will each need to complete 500 hours of community service over the next 3 years, specifically in caregiving roles, hospice support, elder care facilities, disability services. You need to understand what your sister did for us. Additionally, you will serve on the advisory board of a foundation we've established in Nora's name. This foundation will support family caregivers who sacrifice their own advancement to care for loved ones. Nora will lead it. If you complete these conditions, your trust funds will be released. If you don't, those funds will go to the foundation instead. We are not doing this to punish you. We are doing this to teach you what we couldn't seem to teach you while we were alive. That love requires action, that family requires presence, and that inheritance should reflect reality, not just biology. To anyone who objects to this arrangement, we say this: we were of sound mind when we made these decisions. We consulted extensively with our lawyer and our doctors. This is not a mistake or a moment of confusion. This is justice. And to our Nora, you don't owe anyone your grief, your labor, or your gratitude. You especially don't owe it to people who treated you as less than family while expecting you to do more than family. You are our daughter. You are our legacy. You are our pride. Make them understand what family really means. With all our love. Mom and Dad. The silence after I finished reading was deafening. Then Lily exploded. This is insane, she shouted, slamming her hand on the table. They were clearly not in their right mind. Dad had Alzheimer's, for God's sake. The letter is dated from before his diagnosis became severe, I said quietly. And it's notarized. With a doctor's certification of competency. You manipulated them. Marcus stood up, pointing at me. You isolated them, you made them dependent on you, you poisoned them against us. Is that what you're going with? I asked. That I manipulated them by being present, by caring for them, by doing what you refused to do. We have careers. Lily screamed. We have lives. Not everyone can just drop everything. I had a life too. I shouted back, finally losing my composure. I had a future. I had dreams. But someone had to be there, and you both made damn sure it wasn't going to be you. Uncle Dennis cleared his throat. Perhaps we should all calm down. No, I said firmly. No more calming down. No more being understanding. No more making excuses for them. I turned back to Marcus and Lily. You want to contest the will? Go ahead. Mom and Dad expected that. That's why they documented everything. I pulled out my phone and opened my photo gallery. Years of evidence. Here's a text from you, Marcus, saying you couldn't visit because of a golf tournament. Here's one from you, Lily, asking me to handle Mom's birthday because you had a product launch. I kept scrolling. Here are the medical records showing I'm listed as the primary caregiver and emergency contact. Here are the appointment logs. I was present for 247 out of 251 doctor visits in their last 2 years. I looked up at them. Do you want me to keep going? Because I have 3 years of this. 3 years of proof that I was there and you weren't. Lily's face crumpled. For a moment, I thought she might actually apologize. But instead, she said, "You're going to regret this, Nora. Family doesn't do this to family." The irony was so thick I almost laughed. "You're right," I said. "Family doesn't do this. But you stopped treating me like family a long time ago. So maybe I'm just following your lead." The lawyer's office was cold, sterile. Marcus and Lily sat on one side with their own attorney. I sat on the other with Mom and Dad's longtime lawyer, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson read the will in its entirety. It was exactly as the letter described, but with more legal language. The house, the beach property, the investment accounts, all to me. Trust funds for Marcus and Lily, conditional on the caregiving service and foundation work. "This is absurd," their attorney said. "We'll be contesting this immediately. There are clear signs of undue influence." "Actually," Mr. Patterson interrupted calmly, "we anticipated that." He pulled out a thick folder. "We have documented evidence of Ms. Nora's caregiving, including medical records, financial records showing her personal expenditures on their behalf, and testimony from their doctors, neighbors, and friends. We also have recordings." "Recordings?" Marcus said sharply. "Your parents recorded several conversations over the last year of their lives, explaining their reasoning and confirming their sound mental state. They wanted to make absolutely sure their wishes would be honored." He looked at Marcus and Lily. "They loved you. But they were deeply disappointed in you." Lily started crying. Real tears this time, not the photogenic kind. "We can still contest," their attorney began. "You can," Mr. Patterson agreed. "But I'll warn you, discovery will be extensive. Every text message, every phone call, every missed visit will become part of the public record. Every expense Ms. Nora covered while you refused to contribute will be documented. Is that really the family legacy you want?" Marcus and Lily exchanged a look. "What about the foundation?" Marcus asked quietly. "What exactly would we have to do?" For the first time, I spoke up. "Exactly what the will states. 500 hours of caregiving service. It can be at any legitimate facility, hospice, nursing homes, disability services. And quarterly board meetings where you'll help decide how to support other caregivers." "And if we refuse?" Lily asked. "Then your trust funds, about $200,000 each, go directly to the foundation instead." I kept my voice neutral. "Your choice." 6 months later, I sat in the office I'd set up in a corner of our family home. My home now. The Parents' Legacy Foundation was growing faster than I'd expected. We'd helped 47 caregivers with emergency funds, respite care, and counseling services. We'd started a scholarship program for caregivers who'd postponed their education. We'd created a support network connecting isolated caregivers across the state. Marcus and Lily were fulfilling their requirements. Barely. Marcus worked weekend shifts at a veterans hospice facility. Lily volunteered at an adult daycare center. They showed up to board meetings, though they rarely contributed much. But something was changing. Slowly. At our last board meeting, Marcus had actually suggested something useful, a partnership with local hospitals to identify patients whose families might need caregiver support. Lily had been quiet, but afterward she'd lingered. "Can I talk to you?" she'd asked. We'd walked out to the porch, the same porch where Dad used to sit and watch the sunset. "I met this woman at the daycare center," Lily said quietly. "Her name is Patricia. She's taking care of her husband who has Parkinson's. She works full-time, manages all his care, and her kids live across the country. They call once a week if she's lucky." She was quiet for a moment. "She reminded me of you. And I realized. I never once asked you how you were doing. Through all of it. I never asked if you needed help, if you were okay, if you were drowning." She turned to me, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Nora. It wasn't enough. Not yet. But it was something. I still live in the house where I grew up. Some nights, I walk through the rooms and remember Mom and Dad, not the sick versions, but the people they were before. The ones who chose me. The ones who fought for me, even when I didn't know I needed fighting for. The beach house is still in the family. I go there sometimes, especially in the summer. I sit on the porch and watch the sunset, and I think about that dinner, about Lily's words, adopted kids aren't real family. She was wrong. But I understand why she thought she was right. For years, I'd made myself smaller, quieter, more grateful. I'd acted like I needed to earn my place. And in doing so, I'd accidentally confirmed their belief that I was somehow less than them. But Mom and Dad knew better. They knew that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you through the hard parts, not just the easy ones. The foundation is thriving. We're helping people who feel invisible, people who sacrifice everything for love and get nothing in return but exhaustion. People like I was. Marcus and Lily have both completed about half their required hours. I don't know if they'll finish, or if they'll let their trust funds go to the foundation. Honestly, either outcome would be fine. Because I'm not that scared little girl anymore, the one who overheard her brother say she wasn't really theirs. I'm not the invisible caregiver, swallowing her resentment and her exhaustion. I'm Nora. I'm my parents' daughter, chosen, loved, and vindicated. And I'm the primary heir not because of what I was born as, but because of who I chose to be. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Have you ever experienced family dynamics like these? Drop your story in the comments below. Sometimes knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. And remember, real family is defined by action, not biology. By presence, not promises. By who shows up when it matters most. Thank you for listening to my story.